Every single morning, 40 million people over the age of 45 look in the mirror and see the same thing happening: silver strands spreading from the temples, gray roots creeping up through darker hair, white patches appearing where color used to be, and every single one of them is thinking the exact same thought: this is aging and there is nothing I can do about it. I'm going to tell you why that belief is wrong. Not partially wrong, completely wrong. In 95% of cases, what you are seeing in the mirror is not genetic destiny, and it is not the unstoppable march of time. It is a reversible metabolic signal that your body is screaming at you through your hair follicles. And the medical establishment will never tell you this because there is no profit in a solution that costs less than $3 and takes 5 minutes before bed. Subscribe to Dr. Waterling right now and hit that like button. We're building this channel on one principle: real medicine, the kind that actually works, delivered without the corporate filter that keeps you dependent on expensive treatments. Every subscriber moves us closer to reaching people who need this information. Here is what nobody in a dermatology office is going to tell you. Your hair follicles contain cells called melanocytes. These are the factories that produce melanin, the pigment that gives your hair its color. Whether you have black hair, brown hair, blonde hair, or red hair, the color comes from melanin production inside these melanocyte cells at the base of each hair follicle. Now, here's the part they leave out. Melanocytes are some of the most metabolically active cells in your entire body. They require constant energy production, continuous antioxidant protection, and specific trace minerals to function properly. When any one of those three requirements fails, melanin production stops, not slows down, stops completely. And when melanin production stops, the hair that grows from that follicle comes out white or gray. The medical term for gray hair is candidase. It sounds official, it sounds scientific, and when you walk into a doctor's office and mention your graying hair, you will get a shrug and 3 words. It's called aging. What they won't mention is that candidase has 6 documented reversible causes that have nothing to do with your chronological age. Let me explain exactly what's happening inside your scalp right now. Each melanocyte cell contains structures called mitochondria. Think of mitochondria as tiny power plants. They take the food you eat, the oxygen you breathe, and they convert it into cellular energy in the form of a molecule called ATP. Melanin production is an energy-expensive process. It requires massive amounts of ATP. When mitochondrial function drops, ATP production drops. When ATP drops, melanin production stops first because it is not essential for immediate survival. Now, here's where it gets critical. Mitochondria are extremely vulnerable to a process called oxidative stress. Every time your cells produce energy, they also produce reactive oxygen species as a byproduct. Think of it like exhaust from a car engine. A little bit is normal, and your body has antioxidant systems to neutralize it. But when oxidative stress overwhelms your antioxidant defenses, those reactive oxygen molecules start damaging the mitochondria themselves. Damaged mitochondria produce less ATP. Less ATP means no melanin. No melanin means gray hair. The system you rely on for health information is not built to explain this to you. It is built to sell you expensive dyes, salon treatments, and cosmetic procedures. There is no billing code for teaching you how to restore melanocyte function. Your next appointment will not include a discussion about catalase deficiency or copper metabolism, because there is no pharmaceutical product to prescribe at the end of that conversation. Let me tell you about a patient named Margaret. She was 58 years old when she walked into my office. She had been progressively graying for 8 years. Started at the temples, spread across the crown, and by the time I saw her, she estimated 60% of her hair had turned silver. She had tried every expensive salon treatment, every marketed supplement, every hair mask she could find online. Nothing worked, not even a little bit. I asked her 3 questions. First, how is your energy throughout the day? She said she crashes every afternoon around 2 p.m. a.m. and needs coffee to function. Second, do you bruise easily? She showed me her forearms. Purple marks everywhere from minor bumps. Third, have you noticed any changes in your skin texture? She said her skin had become noticeably thinner and more fragile in the past 5 years. Those 3 answers told me everything. Low energy means mitochondrial dysfunction. Easy bruising means weakened blood vessels from collagen breakdown. Fragile skin means the same process happening throughout connective tissue. And all 3 together mean catastrophic oxidative stress with copper deficiency as the underlying cause. Here's what the research shows. A study published in the International Journal of Trichology examined hair samples from 200 people experiencing premature graying. They measured trace mineral content in the hair shaft itself. What they found was striking. 89% of people with significant graying showed copper levels below the normal physiological range, not slightly below, dramatically below. Copper is not optional for melanin production. It is absolutely essential. Melanocytes use an enzyme called tyrosinase to convert the amino acid tyrosine into melanin. Tyrosinase is a copper-dependent enzyme. Without adequate copper, tyrosinase cannot function. Without tyrosinase, melanin production is impossible. It is not a gradual decline, it is a complete shutdown. But here's what makes this even more important. Copper deficiency doesn't just stop melanin production, it also devastates your antioxidant defense systems. Your body produces an enzyme called superoxide dismutase, specifically the version called SOD1, which is one of your most powerful antioxidant enzymes. SOD1 requires both copper and zinc to function. When copper drops, SOD1 activity collapses. When SOD1 collapses, oxidative stress explodes, and melanocytes, being so metabolically active, get hit first and hardest. Now you might be thinking, if copper is so important, why don't doctors test for it? Excellent question. They don't test for it because serum copper levels, the kind measured in standard blood tests, are notoriously unreliable. Copper in your bloodstream does not reflect copper availability at the cellular level where it actually matters. You can have normal serum copper and still be profoundly deficient in the tissues where copper-dependent enzymes are trying to function. The second factor is something called catalase deficiency. Catalase is an enzyme that breaks down hydrogen peroxide. Your cells naturally produce hydrogen peroxide as part of normal metabolism. Catalase neutralizes it immediately, converting it into water and oxygen. But melanocytes produce unusually high amounts of hydrogen peroxide during the melanin synthesis process itself. If catalase activity is insufficient, hydrogen peroxide accumulates inside the melanocyte. And hydrogen peroxide is a bleaching agent. It literally bleaches melanin from the inside of the cell. A study published in the FASEB journal, one of the most respected biochemistry journals in the world, demonstrated this exact mechanism. Researchers found that melanocytes in gray hair follicles had hydrogen peroxide concentrations up to 1,000 times higher than melanocytes in pigmented hair follicles. 1,000 times. That is not a small difference. That is a catastrophic accumulation. And the cause was reduced catalase activity. Here's what triggers catalase deficiency: chronic psychological stress, poor sleep quality, excessive sugar consumption. All 3 deplete catalase production and activity. And all 3 are epidemic in modern life. When you combine low catalase with high oxidative stress, you get hydrogen peroxide accumulation. When you get hydrogen peroxide accumulation in melanocytes, you get gray hair. The third factor is B vitamin depletion, specifically B12, B6, and folate. These vitamins are essential cofactors for methylation reactions throughout your body. Methylation is a biochemical process that controls gene expression, neurotransmitter production, and cellular repair mechanisms. Melanocytes require active methylation to maintain melanin synthesis. When B vitamin status drops, methylation capacity drops. When methylation drops, melanocyte function deteriorates. A clinical trial published in the International Journal of Dermatology tracked 60 patients with premature graying. Blood tests revealed that 74% had either B12 deficiency or borderline low B12 levels. They supplemented those patients with methylcobalamin, the active form of B12, for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, 43% of participants showed visible repigmentation of previously gray hair. Not all of it, but measurable, visible darkening of hair that had been white or silver. Now, the protocol. This is not complicated, this is not expensive, but it is specific and it requires consistency. First, copper restoration. You need 1 to 2 milligrams of bioavailable copper per day. The best food source is beef liver. 100 grams of beef liver contains approximately 12 milligrams of highly absorbable copper. You do not need to eat it every day. Once per week is sufficient if you consume a full serving. If you cannot tolerate liver, the second option is oysters. 6 medium oysters provide approximately 4 milligrams of copper. If you cannot or will not eat either of those, supplement with copper glycinate, 2 milligrams per day, taken with food. Critical warning: if you supplement copper, you must also ensure adequate zinc intake because copper and zinc compete for absorption. The ideal ratio is 15 milligrams of zinc for every 2 milligrams of copper. Do not take high-dose copper without balancing zinc, or you will create zinc deficiency, which causes its own set of serious problems. Second, catalase support. Your body cannot absorb catalase directly from food, but you can support catalase production by consuming foods high in manganese and the amino acid cysteine. Manganese is required for catalase synthesis. Cysteine is a precursor for glutathione, your master antioxidant which works alongside catalase. Here is the daily recipe. Take 30 grams, about 1/4 cup of raw pumpkin seeds. These provide manganese and zinc. Add 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed for lignans that support antioxidant enzyme production. Mix both into 200 milliliters, about 1 cup of plain unsweetened yogurt or kefir. The fermented dairy provides additional B vitamins and enhances mineral absorption. Consume this every single morning, 20 to 30 minutes after waking. Third, reduce hydrogen peroxide accumulation with topical catalase precursors. Take 1 medium potato, any variety, grate it finely using the smallest holes on your grater. Squeeze the grated potato through cheesecloth or a thin kitchen towel to extract the juice. You should get approximately 50 to 70 milliliters of potato juice. Potato juice is one of the richest natural sources of catalase activity. Apply the potato juice directly to your scalp in the evening, 2 hours before bed. Part your hair into sections and use your fingertips or a small brush to apply the juice to your scalp, focusing on areas with the most graying. Massage gently for 1 to 2 minutes to ensure absorption. Leave it on your scalp for 30 minutes. Then rinse with lukewarm water, no shampoo. Do this 3 times per week. Fourth, B vitamin restoration. Take a methylated B-complex supplement containing methylcobalamin as B12, pyridoxal 5-phosphate as B6, and methylfolate as folate. These are the bioactive forms that do not require conversion. Standard B vitamins often contain cyanocobalamin and folic acid, which many people convert poorly. Take the methylated complex with breakfast every day. 400 micrograms of methylfolate, 100 micrograms of methylcobalamin, and 10 milligrams of P5P. Fifth, address oxidative stress at the source. Eliminate or drastically reduce refined sugar and processed carbohydrates. These spike blood glucose, which generates massive oxidative stress throughout your entire body. Your melanocytes cannot withstand chronic glucose spikes while simultaneously trying to produce melanin. Choose whole food carbohydrates, vegetables, legumes, whole intact grains. Keep fruit to 1 or 2 servings per day. Focused on berries which provide anthocyanins that directly support antioxidant enzyme function. Sixth, sleep restoration. Poor sleep quality devastates catalase production and amplifies oxidative stress. You need 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep in complete darkness. The darkness is not optional. Your pineal gland produces melatonin only in darkness, and melatonin is not just a sleep hormone. It is also one of your most powerful antioxidants, with specific protective effects on mitochondria. Now the timeline. Do not expect overnight transformation. Melanocyte restoration takes time because hair grows slowly. The average scalp hair grows approximately 1 centimeter per month. If your hair is 10 centimeters long, it will take 10 months for completely new hair to replace what is currently visible. But here is what you should see if this protocol is working. Within the first 2 weeks, you may notice your scalp feels different, less dry, less irritated. That is improved circulation and reduced inflammation. By the end of the first month, new hair growth at the roots may appear slightly darker than recent growth. It will not be dramatic. It will be subtle. By 3 months, if you photograph your roots and compare to your starting photos, you should see measurable darkening in new growth. By 6 months, the difference becomes obvious to other people. Margaret, the patient I mentioned, followed this exact protocol. She consumed beef liver once per week. She ate the pumpkin seed and flaxseed mixture every morning. She applied potato juice to her scalp 3 evenings per week. She took methylated B vitamins daily. She eliminated refined sugar and prioritized sleep. At 3 months, she noticed new growth at her roots was darker than the silver hair surrounding it. At 6 months, approximately 30% of her previously gray hair had visible darkening. At 1 year, she estimated her gray coverage had reversed from 60% gray to approximately 25% gray. Not complete reversal, but dramatic improvement that people commented on without her mentioning she was doing anything. This is not magic. This is not a miracle. This is basic restoration of metabolic function to cells that were starved of essential nutrients and overwhelmed by oxidative damage. Now, the critical boundaries. If you have suddenly developed patches of white hair within a few weeks or months, especially if accompanied by other symptoms like fatigue, weight changes, or skin changes, that could indicate autoimmune thyroid disease or pernicious anemia. See an endocrinologist for comprehensive thyroid testing and B12 evaluation with methylmalonic acid measurement. If you have a personal or family history of Wilson's disease, do not supplement copper without medical supervision. Wilson's disease is a genetic disorder causing copper accumulation in tissues. An additional copper intake could be dangerous. If you are taking zinc supplements above 30 milligrams per day for other conditions, increasing copper requires medical guidance to maintain proper ratios and avoid inducing deficiency of either mineral. How old are you? Write it in the comments. I want to see which age group makes up the majority of our viewers because it will directly shape what I cover in future videos. The healthcare industry does not profit from you restoring melanocyte function with beef liver and potato juice. There is no patentable product in this protocol. Your next dermatology appointment will not include a discussion about copper-dependent enzymes or catalyst activity because there is no cosmetic procedure to sell at the end of that conversation. But you now know what is actually happening inside your hair follicles. You know the 3 primary mechanisms driving melanin loss. You know the specific nutrients required to restore function. You know the exact protocol with measurements, timing, and expected timeline. Your hair color is not a verdict. It is not genetic destiny. In 95% of cases, it is a reversible signal that specific metabolic systems need support. You are not helpless in front of your own biology. You have the information, you have the protocol, and starting tonight, you have the ability to restore what conventional medicine told you was permanent. Subscribe to Dr. Waterling if this information helped you understand what is actually happening in your body, and if this video gave you real answers that no appointment ever provided. Send it to someone you care about, a parent, a friend, someone who stopped believing their graying was reversible. You may have just given them a real chance to restore function they thought was gone forever.